Thank you, Lisa, for the introduction. So we will talk about AEO, GEO. So honestly, there are too many names out there. There's SEO, somebody's calling it SEO plus plus, answer engine optimization, generative engine optimization, LLM optimization. I mean, there are multiple names, but eventually, I think what matters is revenue, business, getting customers, getting clients, building pipeline, actual metrics that matter. So what we'll be talking about today, and what I personally focused on while building this out, we've taken some time. It started out as playbooks, which I was experimenting for my clients, for the company that I was working with. End of 2024, 2025 was when I started seeing the results and putting that together. And now, like literally, it's taking shape. So have taken it slow, seen what works, the consumer sides, buyer side, seller side, all of that. And I've put together a small deck, and I'll start with that. And then I will also show you what we are doing for clients and how we've seen results. Okay, search today is an answer. It is not a list. We were used to lists back then, and that is why a lot of clicks were happening. But now we have something called there's a name for it, for growing impressions but decreasing clicks. It's called the crocodile mouth effect. And most of us are seeing that for the companies that we are working with, the companies that we are probably consulting. And so impressions are probably increasing, but Google or any other platform is not converting into a click because they want people to stay on their platform. And the reason is very simple. Of course, it's AI, LLM answering there, but at the same time, for the first time ever, Google is facing competition, because up until today, I mean, like till 2023, 24, it was just Google, it was just SEO. And SEO meant Google, maybe a little bit of Microsoft Bing, but it was majorly Google. So Google was pretty okay with anyone leaving the platform, going to your website. But then search changed, consumer behavior changed. And the first platform doing that was, of course, ChatGPT. But then Google could not stay behind. I mean, I think it was the first time in a decade that Google lost market share to a competition. There was no competition up until now. So 2025 was the first year, the first quarter that Google actually uh, lost market share to ChatGPT, to Perplexity. And then it came up with AI mode, then AI no, first was AI overviews that took away the knowledge panel. So essentially, the way we were optimizing for search completely changed when the platforms decided to change and the consumer behavior changed. So this marketing strategy, particularly, is more like uh, after the world around us has changed, so we are kind of adapting to it now, because consumers are now, they don't want to click on links, they want the answer. So what we'll cover in the session is we'll talk about what is the basic nuance in which the search has changed. And this is something that has I've created after analyzing thousands of prompts for different industries, for different companies, and then seeing how people are searching, matching it to keyword search volume and multiple other factors. And then how are AI engines answering? So like I said, it's not just Google, it's multiple different LLMs, different platforms, and they answer differently. And the formula that Lisa talked about, that was also kind of in the image for this particular session, TACT formula. And then I will show you on the product how it looks, and something like I've already included like a free audit report for any company that you're kind of working with, consulting any company. For one company, I'll share the list of details with you, and I'll also give you guidance on, even if you don't work on the product, even if you don't work with us, what you can do with all the details that this audit can provide you. And that is a very, very important starting point for you to kind of build this out for your companies. Okay. So, of course, your buyer's first touch point is now an AI written answer, and 68% of the times they're not even clicking. So the zero click piece is very true. And this is why we see organic clicks decreasing like crazily. I mean, I think HubSpot also saw a very big decrease last year. It's now finally started like kind of gaining it back, but there was a massive dip and it is still happening. So if you are not part of the AI recommendation as an answer, as in your brand is not mentioned there, then chances are that you lose out to that prospect, and the prospect will make the decision without even visiting any website. So initially, the whole funnel process was, in the funnel process, in the awareness or at least in the interest stage, used to see the visitor coming to your website. But now the decision, the bottom of the funnel, from the top of the funnel till the bottom of the funnel, the buyer is undergoing that journey on the LLM itself. And that is the major transition that has happened. And hence, if we are still optimizing for top of the funnel or middle of the funnel and not really bottom of the funnel, we might miss out on the user when they eventually decide. And the five different companies that the user wants to work with, when that decision is being taken, if your company is not one of the five that AI is recommended, you're already missing out on the opportunity. So the change from a consumer side is from a keyword ecosystem to a prompt ecosystem. Now the difference is that all of us who are present on this meeting today, if we are sitting in the same office and we type in the same words into our chat GPT, the answers that we will receive would be different. So I'm not going to into the chat right now, guys. I'll go through this entire thing, then we'll take the questions in the chat. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because I see some questions come up in chat, but I'll take that towards the end of this. Okay. Or maybe in between, I'll take a break. Essentially, the thing is that what has changed is that from a keyword ecosystem, we've moved to a prompt universe, wherein the engines who are serving the answer to the users, the search engines were very text dependent, keyword dependent, and then based on that keyword, they used to kind of publish the content which might be relevant. And now the engines are answering for intent behind what is being written. And also, even though there was voice search, but if you dictated a whole paragraph to Google also 3 years back, it would still give you the same results if you typed out a sentence because it was keyword based. But now when you dictate a paragraph to your chat GPT, you know the difference, you see the difference in the results that you get. So I'll just make this small. Okay. So this is the difference. So like initially, if you would go like a website to buy shoes or like shoe store near me or like very small, very crisp, what I want, because I don't want to, even if you give too much of context, it'll be the same top 10 links. But now I would like, instead of searching, I'm asking for recommendation, like I'm talking to somebody, talking to an expert. So already in my head, like this is when I say me, I say user, I mean all of us, we're assuming that the LLM is an expert on any topic that I ask it. So I'm not searching, I'm asking. And when I ask, one prompt actually is a combination of multiple intent signals. So you cannot keyword match your way into the answer, or you cannot keyword match your content anymore. You need to match it against intent. Now, this is the intent that we have come up with after research across thousands of prompts. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. There are two key categories or two key kinds of prompts that users ask. Now, and what I want you guys to envision is that instead of looking at just the funnel point of view, because the funnel is the seller's way of looking at the buyer, that it is the seller's POV, that where is the buyer in the funnel. For the buyer, it's the it's the experience of making this purchase. The buyer is not considering where in the funnel am I. The buyer is thinking of only about, is my objective getting solved if I buy this product? Is my end goal getting resolved? So buyers, purpose of the search is the intent, while what we've done is we've mapped the funnel, which is the seller's POV, to the buyer's purpose of search or the intent behind search. So the two key parts is, the first part here, what you see is brand inducing and informational, which is basically the seller's point of view, wherein we say brand inducing is more bottom of the funnel, information is more top of the funnel. Now, within these two categories, we could see, with after studying prompts, that there are different elements. There is strategy, there is risk, and operational in the information category. So within informational, the strategy intent is, how do I do this? What is the best way to do something? Can you detail out the process if I need to get an email, if I need to integrate HubSpot into my with my website, with my workflows? What is the process? Can you detail out the process for this? Now here, GPT will give the answer, and only if asked to mention the source, what is the source, where did you get this from, then will it mention the links. So the whole game is around whether are you the source of information for LLMs. Similarly, the second intent category is risk. How do I avoid this? Most common mistakes. If the decision goes wrong, what can be the revenue impact? So I'm basically asking, I'm not searching, I'm asking GPT to help me understand the risk factors. Then operational. How do I rate this? What are the different parameters on which I should judge? In fact, for that matter, reports on understand whether the agency performance is good, bad, great, whether the campaign performed great. I mean, all of those factors, we're making Claude run that analysis. So these are informational things that if I'm running a marketing campaign, if I'm running a performance campaign, how do I rate this? What are the KPIs that define success? So informational is these three intents. Majorly, you will find whatever people are searching around informational category, top of the funnel, it will for the user POV, it will fall under these three different intents. Now, for brand inducing, now this is more bottom of the funnel. Here, now this is the uh, major meat. This is the most important piece. This is the most important category of prompts, because this is where the user is in that stage wherein it is using AI like a validation friend, or somebody who can validate their decision and help them make the right decision. So here the intent is discovery, like what are the best options. Now, this is where the buyer forces AI to recommend a name in the answer. And that's the game, that if you can be the brand in the AI's answer, that's how you can basically convert that user, that prospect, into a customer. Now, there are 6 different intent categories here. There's discovery, which is like finding the best option. There is feature and capability. Who does this? So I am a startup, and I want best ROI for my investment. I don't have too many customers. I have presence only in one geography. So then for maybe an enterprise, it's like, are you present in US, UK? Are you compliant with US, UK, and Asia? Because I'm present in these 3 geographies. That becomes a feature level search, because that's the intent. Then comparison to alternatives. Now you have your list of competition. It is a very big possibility that company A and B are my competition, and prospect is just about to like sign the deal with A. But yet before doing that, we'll go and search on GPT. Hey, what are the alternatives to company A? And all of us do that, but not many people are creating content that kind of answers that. And from real customer experience, with one customer, there was one Reddit thread which was a really bad review, and that one Reddit thread was the source of information to any query wherein there was comparison to competition. And that was just a very simple miss, a very easy fix, by actually putting out content on LinkedIn, on YouTube, putting out case studies that kind of gave AI more sources of information to answer for that particular search query. Then there's persona use case, which is more ICP, as in what works best for someone like me. And that like me piece is already assumed by GPT, already assumed by Google AI, because it has all the information on you already. But essentially, if say for example, I am putting in a question, what works best for someone like me, and somebody who's the CMO of an enterprise puts what works best for someone like me, the answers would be completely different. Context is already built in. So when we actually curate a list of prompts, we specify the context, and the search happens through APIs so that we get clean answers and not answers which are impacted by our GPTs. Pricing and transactional, very self-explanatory, and similarly with geography. Are you present in this market? And are you like compliant with this market? That is geography. So when a user searches, it is not a particular just a keyword. It is basically one, two, three, or more intents clubbed into one query. And the idea is that we try and rank for like broken down intents, so that eventually when the user is asking for one particular intent, we start surfacing across different intents, which is important for our category and our ICP. All right. Next is basically how are these different platforms different. Like I said, Google never had competition. The top layer, how AI operates, is same. Basically, there is prompt, user context, then there's retrieval, because there's a whole data. The data set is very different for ChatGPT, it's different for Perplexity, different for Gemini, different for Claude, different for Bing Copilot. In case you have enterprise customers, they're not allowed to use ChatGPT on their laptops. They can only do Copilot. So it's a different data set there. So essentially, the basis that data set plus like a live search also, most of them do that, and then synthesizing that answer and then giving the answer. So if you see the difference between a ChatGPT and Gemini, a Google would be that Google has the freshest contest index on earth, like literally the freshest content, because it is continuously crawling and indexing sites, while GPT relies on an existing data set which it continuously updates. And I think it is basically last they updated as per their information. They last updated in Jan of this last year or this year.
Right.
I'll have to check.
Swati, I just want to jump in here and say, so from a strategy standpoint, you know, Maureen put a note in here just around like if your document is publicly available, it'll get picked up, right? But
Yes.
we need to think about, first of all, if your blog is 5 years old, even though it's still really relevant, refreshing that blog will make it
Yes.
more likely to get picked up, right? Because GPT is looking at and I think Gemini is too, the newer stuff first. And then
So
you're
if you're a new company, it'll be easier to target a Gemini and a Perplexity. GPT will take some time because once you've established presence there, then GPT will pick up. But if you're an older company, like you have a 5-year-old blog on your this thing, refreshing that content is the best way to come up across LLMs, essentially.
right. And I mean, on the flip side of that, you'll have a higher domain authority if you're a 5-year-old company than a
Yes.
5-month-old company.
Yeah.
So if you're writing the same content and you've refreshed your blog and you've used AEO, GEO best practices and you've added your FAQ at the bottom and a table of contents and some of like the right structure to your blog. And then it's like your apples to apples, your domain authority would
Yes.
increase your
I mean,
chances of getting picked
like
up.
you said, it's a combination of who you say you are. I mean, like very simply explained, who you say you are and what the internet says about you. So these two needs to match. So when you say Lisa domain authority, it's more about what the internet says about you. And this is the C in the TACT, which is citations. And who you say you are is basically A and T, which is answer ready content. Do you have that content is relevant? Are you the authority in this space to even write this content and publish this content? And then comes the last part, your own distributions. Can machines read you as well as humans can? So if you have, like, say, maybe you've stopped the machines from reading certain parts of your website, wherein which are interlinking to content pieces that you have made live, that's a negative signal to a particular LLM engine that, oh my God, they're getting some information from me. So maybe if I send a user there, they'll not have a great experience. So content blocking, content gating, we only recommend if it is product documentation, if it is something that is for internal purpose, you hosted it, but on your live site, have as much content that which can be made available, which people are genuinely searching for. So volume is not so important. Quality of content is very important, and tact is kind of very self-explanatory. But tech optimizations operate slightly differently for different LLMs. Answer ready content, of course, there's FAQs like Lisa you mentioned, information, but you need to map it against the intent again. So if your content is answering for intent, then you're good to go. But if your content is more talking about who you are, chances of getting cited again reduce. You will only come up in certain types of search categories. And then of course there's citations, which what the internet says about you. Also, if what the internet says about you is, say, maybe not matching who you are. Now you say I am the best software for sending out bulk emails, for example, but when you look at what's been said by customers on review platform, or maybe Reddit, or some backlinks that have been created, and you were an agency, say maybe 5 years back, but now you're a product company. Now, what the internet says about you is this is an agency who does digital marketing, because that's old information. But what you're saying is different. It does not match. And hence, when you are putting something out there as part of your branding, as part of your positioning, backlinking from relevant domains and seeing correcting what the internet says about you is also very important. Only if that matches do you get surfaced, do you get trusted by AI.
So, right. So that's your last point there, the T. And
Yes.
then Swati, there's also a question in here. Well, there was a comment saying adding refresh dates to your pages in the HTML, but will help you with your rankings and your citations, but then there's a question on if you can get dinged for gaming the system. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so Google, it was working till about, I would say, last month. Google's new update, latest update, actually talks about it, mentions it, and says don't do it. But what also happens if you're doing something called programmatic pages, wherein you're publishing more pages like through APIs from your product, a lot of times they have the same date. So it will have like because tech teams don't kind of check it, and it's like 1st of January, all content is going out, or like just one synthesized date at the back end. So don't do that. Only rig the dates for content pieces that you're publishing at scale, because publishing content, like if it says one single date for too many landing pages on your site, that's also an incorrect signal. But for content pages, don't do that. Instead of changing the date, actually just add one line. That is good enough. So the safer solution would be to just add one singular line or two lines, or interlinking it to another content piece on your website, rather than adding like a whole paragraph or trying to refurbish the entire thing. So I'll quickly show you what you'll see if you run the analysis. Now this is currently an internal tool. We are working on to launch it, but honestly, when I spoke to CMOs and founders, they were like, we don't want to learn another platform, another tool. So we are now building this out more like an agentic employee, wherein we take full ownership and you get to see results on a platform too. So what you see here is we basically share a list of 100 prompts, and you can select 50 out of those, 35 from brand inducing category, another 15 from informational. And another way that we do this piece is so if you sign up for the free audit, this is the kind of sheet that you will receive. So you can select out of these 75, select 35 from here, select 15 from here, informational category. And in case you feel it's a complete miss. Now, the reason why some of these prompts might not match your expectation is because the universe that the agent is kind of scratching and scrolling is your website, all of your digital assets, your competition assets, and all of that. So if you say something which is not matching the ICP, chances are then this will go haywire. But again, obviously, there can be some incorrect pieces as well. So we would love for you to add your own prompts that you would want to see who's coming for these prompts. So do that as well. What you'll see in the results is once you've selected the prompts. Now, this is a dashboard for existing clients. This basically has data whenever we run this weekly, and this has been the movement week on week. But more than that, what you will get report on is that out of the prompts that you select, so here only 40 prompts are selected, for how many are you being present? What's your rank? What's your visibility share across GPT, Perplexity, and Google, or three different platforms? And where is your competition present and you are not present? So you can just select you only. You'll see where you are present. If you see all, you can even see different intent wise. All of those details will be shared in that Google sheet with you, and we will be moving that to the platform in another 2 weeks time. So I could have shown this to you on the platform had I done this a month from now, but then it is what it is. Uh, okay, in the competitor space, this is again very interesting data that you'll get. You'll get the list of competition. Usually, to answer 50 questions, AI refers to 400 to 500 domains, which is websites, and it actually analyzes more than 1,000 links, URLs. So 1,200 URLs are kind of used on an average. This is what we've seen to answer 40 to 50 queries. That's the maths. So, and those are the URLs which are very important for you, because questions, prompts which are relevant to your ICP, these are the URLs AI is using to answer them. And the exact content from these URLs which is getting used, that's where if you are not present, if your competition is answering, they will be present in the brand inducing prompt as an answer, and you'll miss out. So you get the list of competition, where you're present, what's your market share vis-a-vis competition. And this is the by URL, the whole list of URL, the 1,200 list. So you'll get this complete list also, and you can open the link and you can see. So this is their own link, our client's link, but okay. So this is a competition link, which is also being used. So you'll see all of these links and how many times are they being used to answer AI question basically in the LLMs, all of that's information. And then the benchmark basically tells you. Now, a lot of times you might be a SMB. So enterprise are not really a competition. So you can benchmark against the exact competition that you want to see you're standing against. Now, this is more like a product feature. But if you're building this out DIY, because that's what I discussed with Lisa that we'll be talking about, these citations by URL, these 1100, 1200 URLs become very important for you. And if you see the top ones, and if you go on the overall brand visibility and see which prompt, what are the sources. So when you click on sources, you will see these URLs. You'll see the exact website and you'll see which website, which URLs. Now, you can prioritize creating content for your company, your website, by selecting the prompt, the intent behind it, seeing where your competition is present, you're not present, and then you actually see which competition link is the source of information for LLM. Analyze, pull out the list of URLs. It can be 20, 30. Put that into Claude and create that content piece which actually matters. Now, in our case, we are obviously giving content as well. We give weekly content pieces. Uh, Auto publishing will be launching on the platform, but not selling the platform. But just telling you that we're also trying that in the version that I share with you, we'll give you the analysis. But I'm also looking forward to giving at least 2 pieces of content to anyone who signs up, and you can just open, like you can review from here or open the piece. This is a pre-written piece with tables detailing everything. And this piece, once the review is done, it undergoes a manual check from our side. So not without that, we don't give out anything. But it is obviously, it's a, like I said, it's an agentic employee, so it's AI plus human beings. And the fixed module is not there yet, but that's where there's a list of 200 plus variables on which we check each and every landing page and tell you the fixes. So there is this meta description, for example, is very important for Perplexity and Google, and Google ends up changing your meta description if you don't input the correct one. It's as important for Google right now. Not so important for GPT, but definitely very important for Perplexity.